Yo, what is up? It is your boy Zether. Now, as you can see from the title, this is going to be What If Deku Was Deidara? Now, before the video actually gets started, I just want to remind you all that I have a Discord server where you can all just chat with me, share some what if ideas or just come hang out. But with that being said, and without any further ado, let's get started. So boys, on the last part, we basically got into the UA entrance exams as well as the quirk assessment tests. Also having the ships established with Bakugo being with Best Girl or Araka and Deku being with Momo. But with that being said, let's officially get started. Okay, so the next day comes around and Bakugo and Deku walk into class and start talking to their girls and basically just go through the day up until the final class. This is when All Might will walk in saying, "I am here," walking in like a normal person, and proceed to explain them about their combat training or the hero training. He will then actually reveal to them about the costumes, and this is when everybody will actually go change. Now when they're changing, this is when Mineta will actually try to get a little peek inside of the girls' locker room, but Deku and Bakugo will give Mineta a bit of a death stare, and Mineta will very much get away from that. I forgot if I expelled Mineta or if I didn't, and if I did, I'm sorry, but let's just throw him back in here. Now, that will happen and Mineta will be scared off and stop doing that. This is when Deku will basically get a little bit of clay and cover up the hole, patch it up a little bit. Now, for the costumes, Bakugo will actually look the same as in canon, and Deku's will essentially be the Deidara outfit. So the gadgets, shuriken, and all sorts of stuff, as well as the clay, as well as the Akatsuki robe, which actually will suit him very well. The teams will be announced, and at this time it will be Deku and Bakugo versus Todoroki and Tokiyami. Now, Deku and Bakugo will look at each other and smirk before saying, "Too easy." They'll then bump fists and go off to the building where they're assigned to. This one they'll actually head off, and Tokiyami as well as Todoroki will walk into the building, and Todoroki will actually end up freezing the building, everything except for the bomb room, and Deku and Bakugo will actually devise a plan. Now, Deku would actually create a clay clone and have him go into the building with Deku and Bakugo actually flying on top of his dragon and scouting the area, while the explosive clone will walk in the room as a distraction. Now, Deku will actually proceed to find the bomb room, and the clone will walk in, distracting Todoroki and Tokiyami, giving Deku a chance to bust in through the window and catch them off guard. Now, Deku will create a mud wall jutsu as soon as he breaks in through the window to separate them both before Todoroki could even create an ice burst. Now, this will happen, and as soon as it happens, Tokiyami will actually break through. But right as it happens, Bakugo taps on the bomb, and All Might replies, and All Might tells them through their speakers that the hero team has won, making Todoroki admittedly pretty angry. And they'll then be congratulated by Uraraka and Momo as well as the class, with Deku actually being the MVP of the match since he did most of the work. Now, after this, things would proceed as normal with some double dates and Bakugo and Deku's relationships advancing. Now, on one particular day, Deku would actually bring up the idea to actually meet Mitsuki and actually, have a little bit of a dinner. Now, they would invite them, and this is when they'll actually meet their mom and dad. Now, Momo will be extremely nervous, showing up extra early and a little extra in the outfit, and Uraraka will be pretty shy and nervous. Now, the day will go by with Mitsuki actually teasing Deku and Bakugo about getting such cute girlfriends and telling them embarrassing stories about the two, with Deku saying, "Yeah, I'm surprised Bakugo even got a girlfriend considering he's so hot-tempered." Now, after hearing this, Bakugo will be like, "I'll kill you!" And Deku smirks with the clay in his hand saying, "I'd like to see you try." But Mitsuki would actually end up hitting them both over the head and tell them that they better calm down. Now, they'd continue the meal and have an amazing time with them all laughing and having a lot of stories told. Mitsuki would actually end up liking both of them, and the day would end. Now, after that, let's just say that Bakugo and Deku would actually take their girls to their rooms, and just some stuff would happen. I'm not really gonna go into details, but some very naughty stuff would go down. Now, they would walk them home, and I'm just gonna go ahead and time skip to the day of the USA attack. Now, they'll get on the bus, and this is when Sue will actually begin to talk about how Deku and Bakugo's quirks are actually very amazing, and the class will actually talk about who has the greatest quirk. Now everybody will be talking about how Bakugo, Deku, Todoroki, Kirishima have some pretty cool quirks, but at the end of the day, they would all basically agree that Deku actually has one of the best quirks in the class. Now, 13 would actually end up doing her annoying speech that I'm just going to skip because nobody cares about it. And this one, the class will actually walk in. Now, when they're walking in, Deku would actually feel a little bit of bloodlust for some reason. And he would actually be wondering what is going on. This one, Kurogiri would appear and Deku and Bakugo would actually rush it before he could even do anything. But sadly would end up going through it. This one, Kurogiri would actually teleport them all away. And this time, Bakugo, Mineta, Deku, and Asui would actually get teleported to the boat, with Asui saving all of them and landing on the boat. Now, after this happens, Deku would basically devise a plan and explain that they must not know their quirks since, Su was taken to the boat. When Mineta would actually start freaking out, and Deku would just say, "Oh my god, you're such a little bitch." With Mineta being like, "What? I'm not a..." And then Deku picking him up by the shirt and saying, "If you don't stop, I'll kill you." Psych, just kidding. That was Bakugo. Now, after Bakugo does that, Deku would basically just say, "Okay, guys." He would create a dragon out of clay and then have them all ride on it. This is when Deku would basically tell Bakugo to go do a sort of smash into the water. Now, Bakugo would charge up 40% and smash it, creating a vortex, just like in canon. And Mineta would actually get inspired by this and start throwing his hairballs, which would actually help a lot. Now, this is when they would land, and this is when they would actually see that Aizawa was actually getting pushed back, and Deku and Bakugo would actually rush in to start helping him. They would start throwing some decent hands with the villains, and Deku and Bakugo would be doing most of the work, with Aizawa being very impressed by their ability to fight together. This one, Shigaraki would actually get a little pissed and tell the Nomu to go attack Aizawa. Now, as soon as the Nomu comes in, he would actually punch Aizawa through a wall, and Deku and Bakugo would be left to fight it on its own. Now, they would start trying to do some damage to it, but every time Deku would have an explosion go off on it, the Nomu would just regenerate, and Bakugo's attacks wouldn't really be too effective since every time he punched the Nomu, it would just it had shock absorption, so it just took the blow as if nothing had happened. Now, this is when they would actually decide to go all out, and Deku would create a phoenix bird made of clay, and would try to find a weak point, with Bakugo fighting the Nomu close distance using 40% of one for all. He would actually start doing very well as soon as he did that, and this is when Bakugo would actually get punched into the air. But Deku would come in right in time, catch him by the hand, and throw him right back, with Bakugo charging up a howitzer impact. Now, this is when he would rush into the Nomu and hit it with the howitzer impact, but the Nomu wouldn't sustain much damage. It would actually just regenerate as quickly as it got hit. It would get sent back just a tiny little bit, and this is when Deku would actually figure that if those attacks aren't working, he might as well go for the head. So he will actually begin to drop a spider for Bakugo, which Bakugo will catch in a way that the Nomu and Shigaraki, nobody would actually notice since they've actually been practicing this move. So Bakugo would actually place the spider on the brain of the Nomu, and Deku would then say, "Explode!" with the thing exploding right on the Nomu's head. This one, Bakugo would actually run away with the Nomu's brain just splattering everywhere, and Shigaraki saying, "No fair! They cheated!" And Deku and Bakugo would just kind of smile at each other and then go in to rush at Shigaraki. But right as this happens, All Might would actually rush into the building looking angry. And as this happens, he would actually see that his students are actually doing quite well against the villains, and he would see a big giant bird brain around his size on the floor looking dead. This is when All Might would actually smile, and he would then rush into the situation, and Shigaraki as well as Kurogiri would have All Might, Bakugo, and Deku staring down at them, with Todoroki on the sideline since he had just barely gotten there. Now, this is when Shigaraki and Kurogiri would actually decide to run away. Now, Kurogiri would actually grab Shigaraki right as Deku would actually try to go in for a punch, but they would teleport, and Shigaraki and Kurogiri would teleport, leaving all of the rest of the villains there. Now, this time they would actually have a Nomu for them to investigate, and that would be very beneficial for them later on. Now, after this happens, Deku and Bakugo would actually be kind of happy, with Bakugo and Deku looking at each other saying, "Wait! Momo!" and Bakugo saying "Uraraka" at the same time. Now, they would actually rush off to go find their girls, and Baku would actually find Uraraka and see that she's actually fine, with Deku finding that Momo actually doesn't have a shirt, and Kaminari is there. And just for disclaimer, Kaminari got his brain function back, and he would actually be just there, you know, trying to get a peek on Momo. This is when Deku would arrive and jump off of his bird to then see Kaminari actually trying to get a peek. He would then grab Kaminari and pick him up with one arm, and then proceed to tell him, "If you look at her, I will murder you." And this is when Kaminari will actually get scared and be like, "I swear I didn't look at her, I swear." And Momo would actually come behind him and hug him with a shirt that she had just created. Now, Deku, after getting hugged by her, would actually just calm down and decide that it's okay. Now, everything else would proceed to go to normal with the cleanup happening, and Deku would basically proceed to look at Kaminari dead in the eyes, with releasing a little bit of bloodlust, telling him that if he ever tries to look at her again, he'll put him 6 feet under, with a menacing tone, with Kaminari saying, I swear it won't happen, with that pretty much ending the USJ attack. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it's a little bit of a short one, but, you know, I did what I could, and I covered the heroes versus villains as well as the USJ arc. So, with that being said, you guys need to leave 20 likes for the next part and 5 comments. But with that being said, again, Zether out.